Do you have a list of your long-term and short-term goals anywhere? Do you review that list and check it regularly? G'day and welcome. On this channel, I share the wisdom, stories and philosophies that I've gathered in life and in business ever since I started my personal development journey at a live seminar with Jim Rohn in 1984. So, do you have a list of those goals? If I was to walk down a street here in Melbourne, Australia, and ask that question of someone between, say, 17 to 55, more than likely they would say no. And if they said that, I would say, well, if you don't have a list of your goals anywhere, I reckon I could guess your savings account balance within a few $1,000s. And here's why I'm confident in making that prediction. On this table from the Westpac Bank, now the Westpac is one of the 4 large banks here in Australia, you can see the average savings and the mean savings of their account holders in early 2022. Now the first column, don't worry too much about that, because the reality is that number can be very skewed because the Westpac has a number of very large depositors. I'm not one of them, and a lot of other depositors. So for instance, if there were 4 people in a bank and one person had a savings of $100,000, another one had $2,000, and 2 more people each had $1,000 each, that would be a total of $104,000. You divide that by 4 and you get an average of $26,000. But that really doesn't give you the entire story. The column on the right is far more interesting. It is the mean balance, that's the number most common. So if we list everybody's account balances, the mean would be the number that would come up the most. And as you can see, it doesn't vary that much from people in their teens to people in their 50s. Now you may say, well, why is that? Well, I think there are 2 reasons. Number one, I have found in life that rich people tend to save first and then spend whatever is left. And most other people do the opposite. They spend first and then save whatever is left. And the second reason I would suggest is that people with strong account balances also have strong driving goals. There's a purpose as to why they're saving that money. So I can hear you say now, well, hang on, Will, are you telling me that if I had a list of goals, my bank balance would increase dramatically? And my answer to you would be absolutely. Here's what I've found in my experience, that when you have strong driving goals, that changes everything. It changes your disciplines, it changes your habits, and it actually changes your account balance. So in this video, I want to share with you the goals workshop that Mr. Rohn took me through all those years ago. And I still take that workshop by myself twice a year. Once around my birthday in June, and then again in the week between Christmas and New Year, when I review my life, my businesses, and also set my goals for the next year. So that's what I want to share with you today, that goals workshop. I believe we all have one of 2 choices. We can either make a living, or what I describe as a get by life, which is okay if that's what you want to do. Or you can design a life on your own terms. A life that will allow you to do what you want, when you want, where you want, with whom you want to do it, for as long as you want to do it. And I suppose my question to you is, why not design a life on your terms where you can live life to the max? Bronnie Ware is an Australian palliative nurse who looked after people in the last months of their lives. They were sent home essentially to die, and she came into their homes and looked after them in their final months. And she would ask them, do you have any regrets? Is there anything you would have done differently? And people came up with a myriad of answers. Essentially there were 5, and she wrote a book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. Now the number 1 regret that people had as they knew they were about to leave this planet was, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life truer to myself rather than live the life that someone else expected of me. And so we should be learning from the people who have gone before us. Live a life on your terms. Live a life that is true to you, that gives meaning to you. And in order to do that, you must have very clear set goals, very clear directions as to where you want to go. So let's get into that workshop, and I will take you through step by step. In the comments below, I've inserted a PDF. It's a summary of Bronnie Ware's 5 Regrets of the Dying, and I've left it there in case you'd like to explore that further. One final comment I want to make before we actually get started is this. Please don't set your goals too low. I'm going to ask you to set goals from 0 to 10 years. Please don't set your goals too low. Set what I call over the horizon goals. Goals that you would like to achieve and you have no idea as to how you're going to do it. Because I promise you the answers will come. Just set the goals at this stage. Don't worry too much as to how to achieve it. I find often people go, well, I don't think I can set that goal because I don't know how I'm going to do it. Don't worry about that at this stage. When I interview people for positions within my company, one of my favorite questions to them is, where do you see yourself in 3 years? What would you like to be doing in 3 years? If we could go forward 3 years from now and look back, what would you have done? What would you have achieved? And you know what? Most people have no idea. Essentially, they're having a get by life. They're just saying, well, so I can pay the bills and so long as I can get around okay, my car's still working, well, that'll be okay. I would ask you not to do that. I would ask you to take this time and really set over the horizon goals. Goals that are a little bit scary and you even don't know how you're going to achieve them, but put them down anyway, okay? All right, so let's get started. Grab yourself a notebook and a pencil or a good biro and take some time to really sit down and think this through. Now, there are 7 steps in this workshop, and what I would ask you to do is I will go through each step and then I'll ask you to do the exercise, pause the video, and then once you've completed that exercise, then unpause the video, look at the next step, pause it again, complete it, so that you actually use this time really, really wisely, okay? Goal setting, I found, changed my life. So let's get started and we'll go with step number 1. Now, step number 1 is write down 5 things of which you are already proud. Things that you've achieved that you are already proud of. My son rang me a couple of days ago, excited because he had kicked his first ever goal in soccer on an outside ground and he wanted to share it with me. So what have you done that you are already proud of? You might have your driver's license, you might have finished school, you might have finished university. That's up to you. But let's write down 5 things of which you are already proud, because it's important that we look back and see how far we've come before we look forward. Sometimes all we ever do is look forward and go, I'm not good enough, I can't do that. I think sometimes it's worth stopping and looking back and saying, okay, how far have I already come? So pause the video at this stage and write down 5 things that you've achieved of which you are proud. Welcome back. So step number 2, I want you to write down 50 goals that you want to achieve in the next 10 years. That's 50. Let your mind wander. As I said, over the horizon goals. Things that could be a long way off in the future. Things that might be short term. Maybe you want to see a movie that someone keeps recommending to you on Netflix and you've been putting it off. Put that down. Maybe there's a credit card that you want to pay off. Put that down. Maybe there's taxes that you've got to catch up on. Put that down. But also have big goals for down the road, okay? I've set myself a goal, a 5-year goal of playing the world's top 100 golf courses around the world in the next 5 years. These are golf courses that if you pay the fees, the green fees, they will let you on, they will let you play. So I've set that goal. It's a big goal. It's a big, hairy, audacious goal, and I've given myself until the end of 26 to achieve it. So that's something that gets me excited when I plan those trips as to how I'm actually going to achieve that goal. So take some time now, pause the video, and write down 50 goals that you want to either have, do, be. Maybe you want to learn a new skill. Maybe you want to volunteer. Maybe you want to share some of your experiences on a YouTube channel, just like I'm doing here. Things that maybe a mentor taught you that you want to share with other people before you leave the planet. So take some time. This is not easy stuff. This is heavy thinking stuff. You've got to spend some serious time away from distraction and write down 50 things that you would like to achieve in the next 10 years. And remember, this is your list. This is for life on your terms. So go ahead, pause the video, and let's write a list of 50 goals that you want to achieve in the next 10 years. Welcome back. Now that you've got your list of 50 goals you'd like to achieve in the next 10 years, I'd like you to put a number next to each of those individual goals. So I'd like you to put either a 1, a 3, a 5, or a 10 for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. So you just go through your list and you go, look, that's probably about a 3-year goal. That's definitely a 10-year goal. That's a 1-year goal. We want to get that done in the next 12 months. So just go through your list and put either a 1, a 3, a 5, or a 10 next to each of those goals. So pause the video. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. So now that you've done that, you've put a number next to each goal. I want you to go through and I want you to count the number of 1s, the number of 3s, the number of 5s, and the number of 10s. Okay, so do that exercise and get a total for each of those 4 numbers. See you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. So you should now have a total for your 1-year goals, your 3-year goals, your 5-year goals, and your 10-year goals. Now, if you find that most of your goals are 1 or 3, you're probably thinking very short term, and it's probably a good idea to really put some bigger stretch goals out there at 5 and 10 years. If all your goals are long term, then you're probably not believing in yourself enough that you can achieve those goals a lot earlier. Because it's interesting what happens when you start setting goals and you think they're actually 5 years out. It's amazing how quickly you can achieve those goals in 3 or 2 years or even less. So just have a review of those and just check that you've got them evenly spaced. Now, for the next step, what I'd like you to do is take your 2 most important 1-year goals. Which 2 goals do you want to achieve in the next 12 months? So have a careful look at those, and on a separate piece of paper, put one at the top and one in the middle of the page, so a bit of a gap between the 2 of them, and write down those 2 goals that you want to achieve in the next 12 months. And then I'll see you when you get back. Okay, welcome back. So now you've got the 2 most important goals that you want to achieve in the next 12 months. Underneath each of those goals, I'd like you to write a paragraph and say, why do you want to achieve those 2 goals? Why is a great question. I have found that as the why gets bigger, the how gets easier. The more reasons you have to do something, the easier it becomes. If someone was to hold a gun to your head and say, you must get rich, I'll guarantee you'll find a way to get it. And this is the problem. We put things off for too long because there's never any urgency as to why we want to achieve them. So write down for each of those 2 goals why it is you want to achieve that particular goal. As Mr. Rohn said, if we have enough reasons, we can do the most incredible things. And he also said, if you want it badly enough, you will find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. So go ahead and write down for each of those 2 goals why it is you want to achieve that particular goal. See you in a minute. So we're up to the last step, step number 7. Before I give you that step though, if you're finding this video useful and valuable, could you just click on the like symbol and consider subscribing? Okay, so here's step number 7, the final step, and it's a question. And the question is this: what type of person do I need to become in order to achieve everything that I want and design a life on my terms? I want to live a life that is true to me without regrets. If you're like me, when I first did this workshop with Mr. Rohn, I had a long list. I had to stop procrastinating. I had to get serious about things that I was doing. I had to get better organized. I had to do time management. I had to stop wasting time. So you will find that becoming the person you need to become in order to achieve everything you want really comes always down to personal development. You need to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And I learned that lesson a long time ago, and I'm still learning it, but I continue to try and improve on it each and every day. It can all be summed up in one sentence. If we want more, if we want to have more, we must become more. Thank you for watching. I hope it's beneficial to you. We'll see you in the next video.